is Hans Heinrich-Siemers. I'm Managing Director of the Innowerft, the Technology- und Gründerzentrum Walldorf Stiftung GmbH. I'm running this incubator with it's based on stakeholders from SAP, City of Walldorf and the County Baden-Wuerttemberg, and I'm always looking for good ideas. So if you have a good idea in the high-tech area, could be pretty early. We can help you bring this to life, bring this into business with the environment, with the services we offer. We're building speedboats, that's the idea, assigned to this tanker SAP. You know that there are a lot of initiatives within SAP, Grassroots Innovation Initiative, Open Innovation Initiative. We got a lot of good ideas. And it was back in 2008 where we thought, there's business beside SAP out of these ideas, which don't generate 100 million revenue potential, maybe 10 million for a small company in this environment, in the ecosystem in Walldorf is a fine company, why not? So that was the time when Henning Kagemann, at that time CEO of SAP, together with Günther Oettinger, which was the head of the county Baden-Wuerttemberg, they met, and in one of their meetings they thought about what can SAP do. That's the biggest software company in Germany, and it's in this county. And they thought about setting up something like a Gründerzentrum, so a center where you support founders with good ideas in the technology areas, which is a rather old concept back in the 90s, where a lot of cities came up with these supporting infrastructure things, where we're just about some place, some office space, maybe some services around it, so small things. And they said, no, it should be, it is a SAP campus based. So what is it, what we can grab from SAP? That's the proximity to SAP, which is a really extra service which you can never pay. So that was the birth for this idea of setting out a Technologie- und Gründerzentrum in Walldorf. I can tell you it was fair or in a standard way to get the budget from SAP, because SAP understood that's something for the ecosystem, it's for talent management, it helps us, it is a missing piece to have a bridge outside of SAP. It was not a problem at all to talk to City of Walldorf. It ended up being an incubator based on the stakeholder contact. 42% of 42.5% is coming from SAP. The same size comes from City of Walldorf, so these are the big players, and 15% comes from County Baden-Wuerttemberg, and they are represented by the Forschungszentrum Informatik in Karlsruhe, the research center informatics, which is one of the famous institutes around, and those are my stakeholders, the Gesellschafter of the Technologie- und Gründerzentrum Walldorf Stiftung GmbH. That's the former name, the right name for this construct. So,
how many board members do you have then?
I have an advisory board, so there's 3 stakeholders. I have an advisory board which helps me picking out the right startup ideas, which have been sent by the stakeholders. So there are 2 coming from SAP. We have Peter Resbar on board, which is Henning Kagemann in Werner Brandt's board area. We have Thomas Wiedenker with his CEO Research on the advisory board, and we have 2 people from the City of Walldorf. So we have the guy who supports the economy in this environment, which is Mark Massot, and we have somebody from the advisory board in the city, so Dr. Schröder-Ritzfrau, and we have one guy which is leading the advisory board from the Forschungszentrum Informatik, with this Professor Dr. Jogi. I present them the proposal for startups, they decide upon the investment and how to proceed and things like that. We decide for going for a GmbH because we really want to have an operational-wise entity. We really want to operate like a business. And that's maybe one of the differences compared to other incubators or other technology centers in other cities, which present, let's say, the office space to their companies and then let them alone. In our case, it's really kind of like a venture capitalist. We want to invest into the startups, not direct money, but we want to invest with services we add, and we want to be part of the founder team. So the idea is really be part of the founder team. We have a construct where we have certain rights to take decisions, certainly on the way how we spend our money. The idea is to spend up to 50,000 euro per case and to get, let's say, a standard, and I want to go for a standard way to get a 15% share of the startup.
Okay, so the model is
That's
invest 50K and then get 15% of the equity.
Yeah. And we really invest, and that's maybe another difference, and you don't find it that often in Germany, in the pretty early phase. So you can come to us with just a PowerPoint, with an idea. We start talking, we start getting people together. We use certain models to really form this idea and this company. And that in a certain level, when we think, oh, we're in a good mood, we think that that's worth to continue. So the business case doesn't need to be there, it doesn't need to be final, but there need to be something where you smell, where you feel, oh, there's something in it.
Are you smelling the people more or the idea more?
Both.
So
I mean, certainly both is, I mean, it never ends, and you from know it. I mean, you have a good idea, it changes over time, definitely.
Right.
So it's a lot about the people. But it's fair enough to get some, let's say, a student from Karlsruhe on board with a good idea, with a good technology idea, where we think, oh, that's a different way of thinking, that's a different interesting thing. So we use then, add different people, and the standard case I want to have, and I want to have as a standard, is having the techie guy from Karlsruhe, which is one of the best techie universities in Germany, and the business guy from Mannheim, which is another close university here, and enrich the team with an experienced guy from SAP. That's the idea. Bring those people together, mix it up, adding some services, and then really create a mashup startup.
So what kind
That's
of
the idea.
What kind of services are you providing? So far I've heard $50,000 cash in exchange for equity. I also heard a potential expert or enterprise thinking kind of person from SAP.
Yeah.
Is that person going to go to the startup full time, or is he an advisor, or is he access and kind of the internal ombuds person?
We want to play every card. I mean, it's not that we give the 50K in cash. So we use the money to buy those services. So over time, when we spend the money, we will have a service ecosystem which help us have these services to support and create those companies. So it's just a legal guy, it's tax, so standard things like that, but it's a coaching service maybe, it's a certain way of maybe interims management. In terms of having access and using SAP guys, it starts by, oh, don't you have fun to just talk to those guys? So a lot of techie people, our architects, like to talk about new technologies. Uh-huh. And of course I just use the fact and bring those people together and say, hey, here's a guy who has a good idea, what do you think? And it ends up being, oh, that's great, it fits, by the way, to our product XYZ, why don't you try this out? Because we are currently looking for something, so it's a synergy already.
So they're validating the idea with people at SAP. These people aren't necessarily going there and being part of the full-time, like 24-hour a day, eat, drink, sleep team.
No.
It's and they're coming into SAP and validating the idea. What types of people at SAP are they talking to? What types of functions or?
We like to have this architecture because they have the ideas about technology. They know what's going around. They know what doesn't work. They can really help to identify pieces of technology which fits from SAP, which is one of the motivations at the end of the day, which could be then the fact why SAP should drive the story and embed the startup. And I will give you an example later on where we have those cases. If we can create such a storyline where the startup can live in context of an SAP solution, and it's good for the startup and it's good for SAP. SAP can say, oh, here we have the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. The example I will mention is about our Future Fleet project, where we had 30 electro cars, SAP, mm-hmm. and there was an existing infrastructure out of a research project. There was a company in Hockenheim, close to Walldorf, which creates the charging stations, so the hardware. There was a company creating the infrastructure, managing the charging as software as a service example, and SAP built a fleet management piece of software connected to the rest.
Those people, right?
Yeah, so perfect example. So now what happens? The project ended. SAP was saying, oh, CO2 emission, we want to still reduce it. We want to take and have additional cars. So we are a customer. Now we are a customer of a research project. No, we need to have a company fulfilling our service. So what we then thought is really taking this, the whole construct, saying, okay, why don't we try to create a company out of it? We have a first customer, not too bad, SAP. And by the way, this project already has a second customer, which is McDonald's, which is not the first customer as a affiliate system. So we created a company, or we are up to, it's part of now in the Innowerft, the company called Charge Partner. And what they do is really grab an ecosystem for their own. They create partnerships to all these pieces, and they can create and offer a full service electromobility offering. They have first charging stations in China now, so they are slowly but surely growing. And they are, what we then do is, in this particular case, is of course we network them, we have a guy doing the coaching. It's probably one of the guys who over time will leave SAP, because, that's interesting. Maybe he's the guy who creates the bridge from SAP to this company, because there's still some piece within SAP, this fleet management part, which is currently just flowing around, and there's nobody takes it because it's too small. Now, what we try to do is now say there's a market, there's an ecosystem, and you SAP just need to create this tiny little piece, and maybe in terms of corporate sustainability or fleet management, so SAP could offer a solution and a complete rest of the ecosystem which cares for the hardware and the rest of the thing. That's the complete solution SAP can offer to their customers, and we can create those linkage to a startup that is both for both companies. It's fair.
So this is an important point. There's no cash. It is services though, and in the services that you've covered so far are that we've heard you talk about are access to SAP experts to assess a validation of a synergy with SAP, coaching, tax, legal. It sounds like there's some real estate.
Marketing, real estate. We have an office, which is one of the important things, so that people can meet. Typically, when they start thinking about stuff, they do it out of their cellar. They do it,
Right.
And it's a very good place that we are sitting in the partner port. The former SAP partner port building, where a lot of companies, partners of SAP sit in, so that's already a good ecosystem to use for these startups. And it's a representative thing. So when we invite customers, they know, first of all, the partner port, oh, it's something with SAP. So just the name, oh, that's an SAP incubator, it's close to SAP, is of benefit for the startups.
So a little credibility.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. What about, the things that, and this is a problem in the Valley, right? You have all these incubators and angels, with Google and Facebook, and they get the angel funding, but yet when it comes time to get to the next step with Series A, there's a bit of a cliff that they're hitting.
Yeah.
Are you providing access to Series A and follow-on funding? And that
in Germany, it's not like in the Valley. We already lack the first level. That's why we really start in the very first phase. So we are already happy if we establish that connection to the angels, if we have the first round. We use the 50K to really come up and end up with something like a first pilot, with a prototype, with a good-looking business case, so that we can really show something and have a team setup, which is, let's say, still loosely coupled, because they are in that early phase, the guy is still sitting in SAP, the people and students still doing maybe their master work, parts of that, but they're ready to jump into that. They just need the next level, let's say the 300K, the 500K investment.
Right.
We have, therefore, the first early stage investor is the High-Tech Gründerfonds. That's an established fund, about 300 million euros within. They support high-tech companies in this early stage.
Okay.
And we are partnering with them So already they know about the quality of startups we create. It's a
Okay.
state fund,
Okay.
a lot of money in that. I mean, you could just ask our own SAP Ventures organization, and you know that they are investing pretty late. I mean, this is something.
10 million run rate.
Yeah.
$10 million
Yeah.
dollar run rate.
So we need to really get to this level and having something that the company is running, that it's just in a phase. When you say, oh, it's there, we have proven the success or the value that it creates. There are customers, and then really having a growth strategy and getting the money for that. That's possible in Germany. Just need to have the first phase is the tricky phase, and that's our focus.
So you have a good partner, it sounds like, in the high tech Gründer Fund.
Mm-hmm.
And are there other angels in your network?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Venture Forum, there's the biggest business angel network, and the funny thing is, everything is close to this environment, and still compared to the rest of Germany, compared to the power we have out of universities and companies, the balance of a number of fundings or new startups is less than in other counties. This is probably based to the fact that here are big companies, that the people get on board to SAP and they earn good money. The difference to the own company is maybe not that big, or they are not used to that. And that's another German thing. People don't just start startups. That's a different culture we have.
Right.
And that's what we try to show. We say it's, if you're a student, you're in the early days, you have good ideas, you have maybe your diploma thesis, your master work, just use the thing you identified as potential business, as potential good technology. Give it a trial. Give it a trial. There's a way of doing that. We want to show this path. If it doesn't work, you're still an experienced guy. You have not lost anything. You can still go to the bigger companies, but try it.
Well, since you're often starting with the developer as the core, I mean, at least you don't have to pay somebody to build it, because that
Yeah.
person's going to be building it.
Yeah.
And so you're almost like pre-seed funding.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
Yeah.
comes the seed funding.
Yeah.
And are you helping them as well? You listed legal, but I mean, I've worked a lot with startups, and a lot of the things that they kind of just don't naturally know unless they've done it before are, all right, well, when I'm taking money, under what terms should I take the money? What structure? Do I do a convertible note? Do I do equity? And of course, probably here it's going to be a little bit different, but the general concepts still apply.
Yeah.
Are you giving them guidance, like you should say, or do you say, here is a standard term sheet?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Sweet.
I've got 4 startups, so kind of a broader mix, and that was the for my first round, the idea tried out. There are people, or one startup is far already as customers, and there's one startup who just started out of PowerPoint. So I have the breadth. The idea is after 1 year that we have really a standard term sheet saying that's the way we do it, and it should fit. We do not want to negotiate about the value of the idea, the value of the team. That's the way you do it, because I think that's really helpful at the end of the day.
Oh,
and I see the partnership in this high-tech Gründer Fund, they are pretty straightforward. They have this standard way of supporting. They say, we give you that amount of money, we get this part of it, and over time we know how to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the result. The thing is, we need to find out and detect those startups where we can really offer help. It's not about that we have a standard list of things they can buy from us. So it's rather, do we find a match? Can we use the proximity to SAP to really create something new?
Our relationships with professors at the uni is super important.
We have an entrepreneurship professor, Professor Orestes Tertsidis. He ran the former Karlsruhe research office. He's now the entrepreneurship prof, which is a pretty good networker for us. And we have in Mannheim an entrepreneurship prof who is reaching out to the whole university. There are projects and programs coming up in those university cities. So in Mannheim there's an initiative called Commit, where they're pushing startup ideas or pushing technology into the market, and they are happy that companies such as like SAP comes and say, oh, we are interested in your ideas and in your research. and let's find something, whether we can do something together. So it's really about just detecting those pieces and bringing things together. And that's the first step, which already creates a huge benefit for the startups.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for talking to us about Innowerft. And
Thank you.
I look forward to talking to you again next year.
Yeah.
And maybe we could go into many of the companies, because, I mean, given enough time, we would have talked about each of your companies in
We should.
detail.
We should, definitely.